We have seen how to load these comma separated value files into Power BI Desktop, and also we have done the basic data transformation using Power Query Editor. Okay, and also we have explored the various the basic building blocks. When once you create a report, where the data will get stored in the case of import connectivity mode. And since few other members, Deepa, right, she wanted me to explain one more time the SQL Server thing, right? So we will continue with SQL Server today. Okay, how to connect to SQL Server? I just open the SSMS SQL Server Management Studio. I believe all of you have installed SQL Server Management Studio, right? So if you have not yet done, you let me know so that you'll spend 5 to 10 minutes time to complete this one first. Because without having the SQL Server Management Studio and without creating the data in there, then if you proceed further, right, it will not be helpful. I just selected SSMS. It is being launched. Let's wait for a few moment. So yes, it got launched now, SQL Server. Here we don't have to do anything. The server type, server name, authentication, everything got selected automatically. We don't have to do anything. But in some cases, few of my students, they said with this default values, they are not able to log in. It was throwing some error. In case you experience any error connecting to the SQL Server, what you do is you just select only this part. Replace this by localhost. Replace this by localhost. Let me just so only this part. This is your server name, followed by this the forward slash SQL. Actually, in all these things put together, your server name. But this is your desktop name, right? Your laptop name. Here, what you need to do is you need to replace this one alone. Whatever the thing that I selected it here, you need to replace this one with localhost. In case you experience any error with this default values, localhost forward slash SQL Express. Got it? That's all. So in my case, it is working fine with this default configured value. I just hit the connect button. Now it will get connected to my SQL Server. Deepa, I just repeat it one more time. Please take a note. Anyhow, don't worry. By 11 a.m. tomorrow, all these videos, whatever I covered so far, will be uploaded in your, in your login. Okay, don't worry. So now it got connected to my SQL Server. Good. So this is what my SQL Server Management Studio. This is my IDE. So if you want to write any queries, usually all the developers, they use this. Most of the developers, they use SQL Server Management Studio to write their query here, because you don't have to remember or memorize the syntax for the SQL query. It is very developer friendly. Okay. So the next thing is what I'm going to do is here you can see databases, security, server objects, and so on. I just select databases, right click on it, and then click on the new database. See, listen, look here very carefully. I just selected the databases, right click on it, new database. That's it. Very simple step. Here I just say, for example, 1 second. I just say marketing database. Marketing database. Or I just say simply marketing. Okay, this is my database name. This is my database name. And the next I go straight away and hit this OK button. to create the database. Very simple one. But in the real-time scenario, you don't have to create the database. It is not your responsibility. First of all, you will not have any access to create the database. Okay. But in your system, you need to practice how to write SQL queries. For this, you should be able to create the database name. You should know how to create the database name. Okay. Here I mentioned about the database name as marketing, and I just go to the bottom and I hit the OK button. Okay, it got created. That screen went off. Where can I check that one? Next to the databases, you will find the plus icon. You just click on this, it will get expanded. But here I'm not, yes, here I can see that marketing database, which I created just a while ago. Done. When you, next to the marketing database, you can see the plus sign. When you click on this, it will expand all the things. You can see all the objects that belongs to the database. You can see it here. Now what we do is, this is my database. This is where we are going to create the tables. Any of guys here, I'm going to just scratch the surface, which means I'm going to teach you the basic level of the, loading the data, all the things. We'll take a deep dive once I complete the Power BI desktop top, right? That part, when once I complete it, I'll explain in detail how to write SQL query step by step. Okay, don't worry. Today we are just going to understand the big picture. Okay, big picture, and also we'll create some tables. But what I am going to do is, for example, your manager, okay, they have given you an Excel file. The Excel file, the data are available. So you need to load that Excel data into a database. What they say is, don't use the data from Excel as it is. You need to load the data in the SQL Server because of internal policies. Okay, fine. Yeah. So now I just go and tell you. See, what is SQL Server? This is what your SQL Server, right? This is what your SQL Server. SQL Server name. So this is your SQL Server. The SQL Server can contain more than one database. Okay, more than one, right? So more than one databases, more than one database. It'll have. Okay, you can create more than one database, and each database can have more than one table. It can have 0 or more than one table. Okay, you understood? So it's something like one to many. A single server can have many, right? Many databases. You can create multiple databases, and each database can have 0 or more than one table. You can have it. Okay, 0 or more tables. You can have it in a. Okay, understood, right? I just write it one more time here. This is your SQL Server. This is your SQL Server can have multiple databases, DB1, DB2, and etc. You can create multiple databases. Okay, and each database you can have multiple tables, table 1, etc., table n. Okay, up to any number of tables you can get. You can store as much data as you can possible. But then how many number of databases maximum? What is the limitation? And how many number of records, maximum number of records can it? That and all we'll discuss it as part of the SQL Server. Okay, so at this moment you just understand the big picture. In the SQL Server, you can create multiple database. Each database you can create multiple tables. Okay. So now what we did in SQL Server, we create a marketing database. In this database, I'm going to use this option to load the table into, so not this one, sorry. We are going to load couple of tables from my Excel file into this database. This database is part of my SQL Server, right? What is my SQL Server name? In this case, this is what my SQL Server name. Okay. So here I'm going to load the data. So how do I load the data in from Excel? That is what we are going to. So you should know how to load the data from Excel file or the flat file. And also you should be knowing how to create the tables using script. That one we'll see it later. At this moment, what I am going to do is I just select this database. Hope I'm audible to all, right? So am I audible?
Yes.
So great. Thanks for confirming this. So good. So yeah. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the database and right click on it. Right click on it. You have something called tasks. In this task, you can find something called import data. So we need to tell the source and destination. Okay, which source? What is the source? My source is Excel file. I just go and select Microsoft Excel here. Okay, and the Excel path. What is the Excel path here? I just click on the browse, and here I just go and select something like dim customer XLS file is there. I just click on open. Yes. So what we are saying is we need to define in this import export wizard. So which file you want to load into which database. Okay. So you need to tell the source. In this case, the source is Excel file, and it is Excel version of this one. We don't have to specify this one based on the file that you load it here. The Excel file, it automatically deducts the version of this one. Since it is an older version .xls, it automatically selects 97, but you can still go ahead and select the Excel version also. Okay. What we are saying is, hey, take this file. This file is available under this folder. D:dat one. This file is available. So pick up that file, and then what you do is load into my SQL Server database, which I created just a while back. What is my database name? Marketing. So for that, you need to use this, driver. Okay, so SQL Server native client 11.0. This is the destination. Okay, this kind of a driver. Okay, you need to select this one, and this is the server name. And look here, the marketing database got picked up automatically. Supposing you don't want to create this, load this data, the dim customers data into marketing database, you can choose whatever the other databases. These databases are already created. In your case, you will not find, this many number of databases. Okay, fine. So marketing database. Okay, I just mentioned about the marketing database, and I'm going to hit the next button. Source and destination. We defined it very clearly. Okay, let's see what happens. Okay, good. There are no errors. Then we are in the right track. Copy data from one or more tables. Write a query to specify the data to transfer. Here we don't write any queries, and we simply copy the data from this file to the table and hit the next button. And then, yeah, only one sheet is there. Very good. And here we have two options here. You can preview the data. Okay, in this file, oddly, we have 6 records are there. Customer ID, customer name. That's all. All right. And edit mappings. What is this edit mappings? If you look here, this is what my source, this is what my destination. This is my Excel file. In the Excel file, in my Excel file, if you see the first cell, you will find this name, customer ID, and the second cell, customer name is there. But in the destination, do you want the same name to be used to create the table column, right? So you want the same name of this column to be created in your target table. Okay, so if supposing you want to make it, bit bigger, customer ID, you can create it, okay? And you can specify it here, okay? So in my case, what I do is I'm okay with the column, the naming standard or the convention used in the Excel file, the same thing. You can use it in my table creation, so fine, okay? And edit SQL, look here, this is a create table. When you click on this, you will find this is the syntax for creating the table. As I said, right, you don't have to write the create table syntax, everything. With just by pointing and clicking it, you can get the data definition language. This is called a data definition language, create table, okay? Fine, I just cancel it. Okay, anyhow, it's everything is available here. I'm going to hit OK, fine, and I'm going to hit the next button and finish. That's it. Look here, 6 rows got transferred. We have seen 6 rows, wasn't it? Those 6 rows got transferred here successfully. Okay, close it. And then what I do is I just look at here in the marketing database and this tables, right? We have created a new table called customer dimension. But this table is not visible. Look here, if you expand this in the file tables, nothing is there here. System tables are related to SQL Server. The file tables, this is where we need to check. It is not available. You need to click on this refresh button here. And then expand this one by clicking on this plus sign here. Let me do it one more time. Yeah, so here. Unfortunately, it is not coming here. Let me just go and refresh it one more time. Look here. So you need, sometimes you may have to collapse this and expand it and click on this. Look here. This time it shows DBO sheet $1 because in that dim customer.xls file, the first sheet name was sheet 1. So what happens is the DBO is database owner dot sheet 1. So what I do is I need to rename this with the proper name, the file name. Okay. How do I rename a table? Select the table name, right click on it, select rename. Here I just say dim customer. If I use the file name or table name as it is, sheet 1, it doesn't make any sense. If you have, see, if you create only one table, it is fine. If you have 20 tables or 30 tables, it is very difficult to understand which sheet has what information. Hence, you give the proper naming convention. Since you are going to learn the Power BI, it falls under business intelligence. So we use this naming a dimension, the term dimension, fact table. So customer attention. Okay, now I can see the I have renamed the table name successfully. And next, just beneath this, you can see the columns. You can expand it. You can see the columns, right? These are the columns that are available in that Excel file. Okay, where can I see the data? Keep the cursor on top of this table name, right click on it, and then you will find select top 1000 rows. Look here, did I write any select statement? Nothing. If I want to write a selection, I need to know the syntax. Okay, if I don't know the syntax, then it will cause problem, right? So, another thing is if you have multiple columns, and again, if you want to use a selected number of columns, if you have 100 columns are there, so automatically it put each and every column here. You don't have to type the column names, but we have a select star option is available. But the question here is, I don't want to use all the columns. I want to use out of 100 columns, I wanted to use only 25 columns randomly. Okay, randomly is not sequentially, here and there. Okay, 25 columns. In that case, what you do is, you just right click on it, it will generate the SQL query, and here find all the columns. Okay, if you have 100 columns, 100 columns, names will be customer name, customer ID. So if you don't want, those columns you don't want, just select this and delete it. That's all. Look here, this query got generated automatically. The output of the query, you can see it here, right? So you can customer ID and customer name. These two columns have, these are the values. Very good. And at the right corner, if you see here, how many number of records are, you can see it. 6 rows got loaded successfully. Very good. So what I am going to do is, for the sake of practicing, I just go ahead and load another file, select the database name, right click on it, tasks, import data. So this is the source file, is again an Excel file. I just hit the browse button here. What I do is I just say sales fact. This is my Excel file, open. But one thing you need to note down here, don't use XLSX file. It causes some problem. Okay. So you might be asking this question, the Excel file, the Excel software, what I use is the latest version. Then why should I use the older one? Because here it is causing some problem. What you do is, if you have XLSX file, you open that Excel file and then save it with the older version of this one, XLS. Okay. That's it. And then you select next. Now we have defined the source. We need to tell where it should go. I just scroll down here, SQL Server native client 11.0. That's it, guys. So this is my target database and marketing. In this marketing database, you load that sales fact tables, that files the data there. Okay. And I'm going to hit this one. I'm going to select, but in this Excel file, there are two sheets are there, but I want to use the first sheet. And before that, right, I want to preview the data. Okay, everything is correct. These are the columns that I needed. I just go ahead and select this one and edit mappings. If you want to change the column name, the destination column name, you can go and select it here. Okay. And I just select OK here. Next, finish. That's it. Look here, 92 rows got transferred. Very good. So that file has 92 rows. And when you go back here, you don't see that table name again. You need to click on the refresh icon here and then select the tables here. Look here, the NC sales dollar. Okay, you need to select this one, right click on it. Sorry, rename it. Okay, here, the sales fact. Two tables are ready. Now I just query this table. How I do that? Right click on it, select top 1000 rows. You might be asking this question. Do you really, so in our case, see in the previous case, we hardly have 6 records. Then why do I need to use top 1000? This is the uh, default value. Okay, you can change it. Okay, for example, you just want to view only the top 3 records, the first 3 records. Okay, and you can use this one. Okay, first 3 records. It's up to you. Okay, and the next one is here you can see that, right? So in this file or in this table, a lot of columns are there. For example, I don't need these columns, 3 columns. I delete it. That's it. I just press enter and then I use Control A and then click on the execute icon here. Okay, you need to execute this icon so that the modified query will get executed. What was the modified one? I removed 3 columns. Look here, the F12, F13, F14 have blank values in it. I don't need this column. Hence, I removed these 3 columns here, F12, F13, F14. Now I need to execute it, wasn't it? Isn't it, right? So I just selected this one and click on the execute icon here. Now you see the columns which have the 3 columns that have that had the blank values got removed, right? I was able to remove it. So here, did I write any SQL query? Nothing, right? Right. So you simply deleted the columns and I'm using it. Just by pointing and clicking it, you can just select the query. You don't have to remember the syntax. In case even you are aware of the syntax, mistakenly, if you type some wrong, wrong column delimiter or something like that, it will throw an error. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward, plain vanilla, right? So you can simply, that is the reason why this SSMS, SQL Server Management Studio is, very much developer friendly. Okay, I have created 2 tables. What is the next thing? Okay, what is so big deal? You created 2 tables here. One is the customer dimension, other one is sales fact. Everything is fine. What is the next step? Next step is I'm going to go ahead with the Power BI desktop. Here, what I am going to do is I'm going to click on the get data icon. Here, I'm going to select the SQL Server. I want to connect to this. I want to use my Power BI desktop to connect to my SQL Server. Okay, and then get the data from these tables. Okay, so what I do is in this case, it is asking me to enter the server name. First, here you need to enter the server name. Next, you need to specify the database name here. It is optional, but it is good practice if you specify the database name, because in our case, as you can see, a lot of databases are there, right? So we don't want to open all the databases. If you specify the specific database name, that is more than sufficient. In this case, what the first option, you need to enter this server name. Where can I get the server name? Look here. You just select the connect here, select the database engine. Here the server name is already there. Right click on it, copy it, and then you cancel it, and then come back here, copy paste. And then next one is the database. Now, what is the database? We created marketing. Okay, marketing. Okay. And if you see here, when it comes to SQL Server, you have two connectivity options. One is the import, the other one is direct query. Okay, what I am going to do is I'm going to select the import. I'll explain you what this one is all about little later. Import. Okay. When I hit OK, what will happen is Power BI desktop will connect to this SQL Server. In this SQL Server, it will select this database. And then here what I do is I just select OK here. In that database, it'll select the marketing database. In that database, whatever the tables that are available, it will list out here. Look here, we have only two tables, isn't it? Look here, here we have only two tables. The customer dimension and then sales fact. Yes, customer and sales fact. I'm going to select this one, and can I select this one also? I'm going to select these two tables. But what I do is, for the time being, I'm going to select only customer dimension. Okay. And if you see on the right side, this is your data preview window. So these are the two columns available. Yeah, we have seen it. Okay, fine. I'm going to hit the load button. In this case, I have used the import connectivity mode. Remember this. I just rename it as old or something like that. All right. So the next one is home. I just go here, and we have one more table. Intentionally, I did not select the table. So now I am going to select the SQL Server. Here I'm going to use the same server name, and here the same database name, marketing, because here we have one more table. If you notice here, in this case, I'm going to use the direct query mode. Please watch carefully. In the previously, I have used the import connectivity mode. Now I'm going to use the direct query connectivity mode. I'll explain you what is the difference between these two little later. So the next step is I'm going to hit the OK button. As usual, it will open the tables that are available in this database. This time I'm going to select the sales fact table. Look here. We scroll towards the right side. Yes, these are the things are there. I'm going to hit the load button. Okay, so now the tables got loaded here. What tables? What are the tables that we loaded? Customer dimension and sales fact, we have loaded it just now. Okay, forget about other tables. Okay, sales fact, I loaded it. I just select this one. Now I just expand this one to check all. Yeah, these are the two columns that are available. These are the columns that are part of that table is available. And what I do is to want to see the data, I just switch over to data view. I'm going to select this one, dim customer. Yes, all the data are got loaded correctly. When I select the sales fact, it is not showing anything. Why? Because this table uses direct connectivity mode. In the case of customer dimension, we can see the data here because we have used the import connectivity mode. In the SQL Server, we have used the import connectivity mode. Hence, what happens here is it loaded the entire table data from the customer dimension table from your SQL Server into your Power BI desktop file locally. It loaded it, right? So from the SQL Server, it got loaded into your Power BI desktop itself. Whereas here, because I have used the import connectivity, if when I select the sales fact, it is not doing that. It is not showing the error, which means it did not downloaded the data, or it did not load the data locally because I've used the direct query. but it it created only the metadata here. It imported or it loaded only the metadata. What is metadata? The table name, column names, and the relationship between the tables. That we'll see it later. At this moment, in the direct query, you remember it. In the case of direct query, Power BI, import the metadata. What are the metadata? Table name, column name, and the relationship. Relationship will explain to later. Okay. Fine. So in this case, actually, what is happening here is the whole idea here is in this case what is happening. You have the SQL server, and then you have the Power BI. Okay. In the case of import mode, we have used the import connectivity mode for the customer dimension. The entire data from this SQL server, especially this table, was available under marketing database. Okay. And this entire data got loaded here in this Power BI report file. But we have another table called sales fact. So in the real time scenario, the fact table will have lot of data in it. It will capture all the day-to-day transactions. Okay. Every day transaction will get loaded here. Okay. Let's assume that this sales fact table have 100 million records. It's a very huge table. I don't want to load the entire 100 million data into my Power BI desktop report. It takes a lot of time. Instead, what Microsoft says is, hey, keep the data wherever it is. Let it be there in the SQL Server. Don't download it here. Okay. Instead, what you do is in Power BI, you select you generate the select query. Select star from or something. Select group by or select sum of sales. Group by region. Let's say in my chart, in my Power BI report canvas, I'm using something like the region in the x-axis and the y-axis sales. Okay. But I'm using a direct query mode. These two columns are coming from the sales fact table. But this sales fact is 100 million. What happens, right? At the moment when I plot this one, a query will be generated like this. Select, I just write it neatly, select sum of sales from sales fact table and group by region. I have a column called region is available. So these two columns are available in this one. Okay. This query will be generated by my Power BI desktop, and then this query will be sent directly to the place where the data exists. Okay. And then this query will be executed here on top of this table. And then this query will return the data to my visual. Okay. It will return the data. So okay, now what is the big difference here? So in this case, we are just sending a single, maybe in this case, right? You have just 2 lines of SQL query. You are just sending it to the place where the data exists. This is the smart way of doing it. Instead of sending 2 lines of code, if you download the entire 100 million record, and then if you fire the query here, it will take a lot of time. Okay. So what we are doing is smartly, the Power BI, what it does is it generates the SQL query and send it to the SQL server, and this query will get executed in the place where the table exists, and then the output of the data will be sent back to your Power BI desktop. So in this case, let's assume that in the region column, we have something called north, east, west, south. Okay, so what you did, you just divided your country. See, this company, they divided their country into 4 different regions, north, south, east, west, to manage their operations. Okay. So here what happens is all they wants to know is in each region what is sales they made it. Okay. So total sales, north region 100, 100, 100,000. Okay, 100,000 sales we made. In east region, you have something called 50,000. In west region, you have 28,250. In south region, 78,550. Total sales in south region, total sales in west region, total sales in east region, total sales in north region. All you need is only these four records. Along with that, you want the aggregated sales value. So this query will return only four records. Look here, but how many number of records are there in here in this table? 100 million records. So this query will just 2 lines of query you are sending it here. This query will get executed, and this query will send the output 4 records back to your visual. It is pretty faster, isn't it? It's something like, you have an app, food delivery app. You are ordering the food using this delivery app, but you don't cook it here, right? So you wanted to, order 2 or 3 items. Okay. And what happens is, it'll send the request, the order to your hotel. Here they have the bigger kitchen. They cook everything and then they send back here. Right? Just because different customers, they order different products, right? Or different food items, you cannot cook it here. Right? Instead, what this app does is, hey, this food is served in this restaurant and this food is served in this restaurant. So you can say, but you cannot keep all the restaurant here, right? You cannot prepare all the items. The same principle here, right? So, let the data be in the SQL Server. Don't download the entire data. Instead, you generate the SQL query. Power BI will generate the SQL query. It will send it here. Output. In this case, the output just 4 records. Even though you have 100 million, sending the 4 records will not take much time, isn't it? So this is what is happening in the case of direct query mode. Okay. Then in the case of direct query mode, so whenever you add any additional dimension, for example, you have a slicer. You have a slicer. You want to see north region only, or south, north and south region only. Instead of seeing all these things, you want to see the north and south. You select in the slicer or the filter, you select north and south. What happens is that query will generate it. Okay, where someone says from sales fact, where region in north, south, group by region. This query will be sent here. Only the sum of north and south, only 2 records will be sent back here. But every time when the user changes the values, whether if they select north and east and south, again a query will get generated, and that query will be sent here, that query will get executed, and these 3 records will get outputted to your. This is the smart way of doing it, right? In that case, there is no network bandwidth. It doesn't require too much of network bandwidth, and you don't have to import the huge volume of data here. But instead, what happens is in the direct query, the table name, only the table name, sales fact, the table name will come here. Something like the menu, you will find the food name, right? The sales fact, and then all the columns belongs to this one, column 1, column 2, column 3, etc. Okay, and then the relationship plus the relation. These are, only the metadata. Only the metadata will get, loaded into your Power BI desktop in the case of direct query mode. Hope you understood. That is the reason why the data were not loaded here. Only the metadata, the table name, column name, you can see it. And if you see the data here, right? So you just switched over to data view. You don't see the data here. But can I see the data in Power Query editor? I'm going to select the transform data, hit this transform data menu, and it will open the Power Query editor. Here you forget about this, and we want to see the customer dimension. This we have used the import connectivity mode. The data got loaded here locally, fine. But sales fact table, I used direct connectivity mode. It was not showing anything here. Sales fact, it was not showing. But whereas here you can see the data here. In the case of direct query mode or the direct query connectivity mode, you can do the data transformation. For example, if you want to remove it, I can remove this column. If you want to remove it, I can remove this column. If I want to remove it, I can remove it. Here I have the sales amount column. Can I change it to rename it to sales? I just, yes, I'm able to, change the column name here. And when you look here on the right side, you will find the applied steps. We have already discussed about this. Whatever the transformation steps that we carried out, it is recorded here under applied steps. First, what I did, I removed 3 columns and then I renamed the column. Which column? The sales. Look here, the sales amount got renamed as sales here. So what is this table dot rename columns? This is the markup language. This is kind of a script generated by Power Query Editor. This is very specific to Power Query Editor. Which one? This markup language. All we did was just we right clicked on it, we double clicked on it, and then we renamed it. We didn't write any script, but on our behalf, the Power Query Editor generate this script. This is called our M language script or markup language. We don't have to worry about this. But if you wanted to refer it back, what are these steps that I carried out? Remove columns. Look here, F12, F13, F14, these 3 columns I removed it. And then what I did, I renamed the sales amount, that I can see it here. Likewise, in the real-time project, we will be having a lot of steps here. At which step, what we did is something like in your house, you have a CCTV. With the help of the CCTV, you can understand which person came first, which person came later, right? So similarly, right here, what happens is it registered or it records the steps in the proper sequence. What about these two, source and navigation? These steps carried out by Power Query Editor itself. These 2 steps carried out by Power Query Editor itself. We don't have to do it. And these 2 steps, whatever we carried out, even that also it maintained, it recorded under the applied steps. Fine, so far so good. But here you can see the data here. But you cannot, and importantly, right, when you keep the cursor at the the last step and right click on it, you'll find something called View Native Query. Look here, when you click on this one, look here, you can see all the, a query has been generated by Power Query Editor. Did I write this query? No, right? I did nothing. Here it generated the query here. And it excluded those 3 columns which are of no use. F12, F13, F14 also, right? It removed this, it generated the query automatically. Okay, this is called query folding. This is called query folding. It folded a query, okay, which means the Power BI, it generated the code, the SQL query here. Like I said earlier, you have the Power BI here. Sorry. This is your Power BI, and this is your SQL Server. In the SQL Server, you have the marketing database. In that marketing database, you have a table called sales fact. In the case of direct query, what happens is, let's say you are using some visual or in the Power Query Editor, you are in the Power Query Editor, you are doing some kind of transformation. You removed some columns. That is kind of a data pre-processing. You are going to remove those columns that are of not helpful to your analytics. That is your data transformation. The moment you do data transformation using your Power Query Editor, it generates the SQL query. That SQL query will be sent directly to this database table, and then the query will get executed against this table, and then the output of the one will be sent back to your Power BI. This is called query folding. It generated the query, right? It generated the SQL query. It generated the SQL query. That is what called as query folding. I just write it here. Query folding. This is called query folding. So hope you understood how powerful this feature is, query folding. You don't have to download this 100 million records here. It takes a lot of time. End of the day, it will not be successful, right? If you don't have 100, if you don't have sufficient space in your hard disk, it will fail. Instead, what you do, generate the query, generate the SQL query, and then send it to the source, and then execute it, and then send back here. The analogy which I used was use a menu and in your app, and then order it. The cooking will be done here. The cooked food will be sent here, not the entire vegetables, all the things, right? Only the cooked food you will receive it here. Same thing. It's something like the query will be sent here. The output of the query will get sent back to you. This is called your query folding. But the query folding option, though it seems so compelling, interesting, right? It is not much helpful. Because it has some limitations. It has limitations in it. It has some limitations. What kind of limitations? For example, if I go and select these two columns, supposing let's assume that customer ID and location key, these two columns, I wanted to merge it. Merge columns. Separator is something like a space and merged. Yeah, it got merged, but if you see here, right click on it, view native query. Yes, query got generated, very good, right? So there is nothing wrong here, it is merging it. So as long as you right click on the last step, and if you see the view native query, then you are lucky, okay? Then the query got, that means Power Query Editor was able to fold the query. Query folding is happening. Okay, now what I do is I want to split this one. I just select only one column. Let's say you have another requirement, splitting the column. Sometimes what will happen? Two column values got stored here. These two column values, are not available in a separate column. You need to split this. So in this case, what happens? You need to use split column. How do you use this one? Keep the cursor over here. Right click on it. You will find something called split column. By delimiter. What I do is space, user space, and then click on OK here. Look here, in this case, what happened? When you try to split the data, it is not working here. Split the values from a column. It is not. The step results in a query that is not supported in directory. There are some limitations here. And if you keep the cursor over on the last step and right click on it, you can see that the view native query got disabled. That means the Power Query Editor was not able to fold the query because of the limitations. Now, as of today, what is today's date? 3rd February 2023. You cannot split the columns, values in a column, right? You cannot split the values in a column in direct query mode. One option is switch all tables to import mode. From direct query, you can direct connectivity mode. From direct connectivity mode, you can switch to import connectivity mode. The opposite is not possible. You need to remember this point also. Okay, this is not supporting, fine. What I do is I just go ahead and unselect this one. I'm going to undo this one. How do I how I have undone this one? For example, I just show it one more time. Split column by delimiter. Here the delimiter space. I just hit the OK. Next to this step, you will find this cross. Here, the Control Z or Control Z will not work here. Instead, if you want to do some kind of undo, right, you click on the cross mark, which is available next to the step. Click on it. And one more time, you click on it. Fine. Okay, because I don't want the error to come up there or warning message. I don't need it. So with this, I understood there are some, again, I don't want to merge this column. Why should I merge it? Why should I split it? Right. Sometimes what will happen is in the real term scenario, both the column values will be on a single column. But the customer will expect you to split the values from a column. Okay, so in that case, the only option is you need to use the split column option. Look here is a split column, but split column doesn't work with direct query connectivity mode. Okay, my data are available in SQL Server, but in the SQL Server table itself, these two column values on a single column. In that case, you need to write a SQL query. But if you do the splitting here, it is not working. In that case, what you need to go to your SQL server. Where is your SQL server, right? So you need to split the two columns. Split the two columns. How do I split the two columns here? How do I split the two values that are there in a single column? You need to use some logic. You need to use some logic that we will see it later. Okay. But that is possible here. Okay. You can, instead, in that case, my Power BI desktop is not helpful. Okay. Because the query folding was not happened when I tried to split the values from a column. Okay. This thing that you need to remember it, let me do one thing. I just go ahead and select the file and sorry, currently we are here, right? I just go to the Power Query Editor. I'm going to select the file and close and apply. Apply all these steps. Remove the columns and rename the column as sales instead of sales amount. We are done. But if you go here, as usual, you cannot see that one. Okay. Now the question is, I cannot see the this one. And look here, the column name got changed. You can see the metadata, right? The sales. Earlier it was sales amount. Now it got renamed as sales. Now the question is this sales amount column got renamed as sales in my source system? No. Okay, no. The source system table will remain as it is. Sales amount. Look here, if I execute this one, you can see still see this one. The underlying table column was not affected. Okay, the next question is, I just go back here. Okay, so here it got selected as sales, right? I just go here. And if I right click on it here, sorry, not this one, sales fact. You need to select the appropriate table, right click on the last step. You will find okay, in this case, it is available. This query is available. Okay. Fine. So now what I do is I just close this because we did not make any changes. Now we just came here to see the query here. But in that query, the column which we renamed, right? Sales was there. Okay, sales was there. Now what I do is I just select a visual here. And what I am going to do is I'm going to drop the customer name here. And then I just select the sales. Here it shows everything same, but you need to go to the model view. You need to create the relationship here. We will take a deep dive about the relationship later point. Don't worry. Okay. I just, what is my latest one? Yeah, this is the one. Dim customer. No, not this one. This is the one. The blue colored one is your direct query mode. Okay. And what I do is I'm going to create the relationship between these two. Can I create the relationship between the two tables? Like this, customer ID and customer ID. So here I just select the customer ID. Here I select the customer because only customer ID is available in these two tables, right? The common column between these two tables are customer ID. Customer name, we don't have it here. The rest of the columns, we don't see it here. Only the customer ID is common between these two. Hence, you need to select these two things. And I'm going to click on OK here. Let's say if a relationship get created. Yes, this is a one side and this is the many side. Okay, if you hover the cursor here, hover in the sense, keep the cursor on top of this one. When you hover the cursor on top of this line, it shows it used the cust ID column from both the table to create this line, the relationship. This is called a relationship. The data model is nothing but creating the relationship between the tables. This is the one side, this is the many side. Why it is a one side? This is a lookup table. The dimension table is kind of a lookup table. Here you will specify each customer only one time. which means the customer ID should not have any duplicate values. Right? So why it is one? Each customer, may place more than one order, one or more than one order. This is kind of order file. A single customer, would have purchased multiple times. Hence it is star, you can find it because this is a transaction kind of file. The fact tables are kind of a transaction file, whereas the dimension tables are kind of your lookup table. Okay. But here you don't have the customer name here, but the customer name is available here. Okay. Fine. So now I create the relationship between these two tables. Anyhow, we will take a deep dive about the data model in the next session. At this moment, understand the big picture. So with direct query mode, you can create the relationship also between the tables with an imported table, and then the direct query mode table, you can create the relationship. Very good. Okay, fine. Now if I go over to the visual, now it is doing the filtering correctly. A customer by the name of Chris, how much he spent? He spent 227K he spent. You can see the amount spent by each customer in this visual. Okay, but here the customer name comes from the table which we imported it, and the sales value comes from where? From my source system SQL Server. Right, we have used the direct connectivity mode. Fine. Okay, the next one is, let me just go here and see there's something called performance analyzer, and then when I start record it, this one, this is too early to see this one. Start recording. Okay, recording started. It takes time. Okay, 1 second. Let me just do something here, and then here the refresh visual. I'm going to click on the refresh visuals. DAX query, direct query, visual display, and other. We can say what I do is I just click on the copy query, and then I just go and look at the copied query. So whatever the query, right? Behind the scene, it generates the query. Okay, let me do one thing. I'll go to the escape. I don't know it is why it is hanging. I just go here. You don't have to paste it. Instead of opening a notepad, I'm using this one. Look here. This is the one generated automatically behind the scene by that Power BI desktop. You selected all the columns. Look here, the sales amount as sales. Okay, so this is considered as an alias. I have renamed the sales amount as sales. You remember in the Power Query Editor, but the underlying table column name still used as a sales amount, and then it says this is nothing but sales. Sorry, the sales is an alias, which is nothing but the sales amount. Okay, behind the scene, it is using like this. And then it uses all the other things, okay, and then it does the group by everything, okay, and it uses the direct query. Look here, it automatically put the direct query here. With this, we are able to understand, okay, this visual is using the direct query to select what values, all the columns from this one, and then, right, including this one, okay, and then yeah, here the DAX query starts. Summarize the columns. Okay, summarize. There is a DAX function called summarize columns. Here it is doing the sum of sales. Sum of sales. Okay, this is the one. Okay, but it uses the direct query. That is what we can see. When that case of direct query, we can understand that though we renamed the sales amount as a sales, the whatever the renamed column, right, that is considered as an alias. Something like your name is Mohammed Rashid Iqbal. Let's say in your family, or your friends, they call you as a Mohammed, right? Mohammed is your alias, something like that. Okay, this kind of an alias. Got it? Okay. So with direct query, I'm going to stop this one now. Anyhow, we will discuss this as part of performance tuning. Okay. Okay, now you understood some extent the difference between the import connectivity mode, direct connectivity mode. In the case of import connectivity mode, the data get loaded into your Power BI desktop, whereas in the case of direct query, the data resides wherever it is. It is not getting loaded here. Only the metadata get loaded here. What is the metadata? The table name, column names, and the relationships. Okay, and also you can create the relationship between the imported table and then the direct query mode. So what I do is, for the sake of continuation, I'm going to load another table here. Here, I think I have loaded only these two tables. Okay, what I do is I just right click on it, and then I'm going to select the tasks and then import data. Microsoft Excel and browse. Here, what I do is, here I'm going to select the dim products. Dim products. Or I'm going to say, the dim location. Dim location, I don't have XLS file. Okay, let me just check any other files are available. Yeah, NC product is there. Yeah, it is the dim product. I'm going to hit the open, and next I'm going to say the destination. The destination is SQL Server. This is the thing you need to use it. This is the database. I'm going to hit the next. All these data files are available in my website. What I will do is I will share my GitHub link right away. What you do is you can download all the data files, because you don't have to wait till I share my. But anyhow, I will walk you through how to use my website, everything now. Okay. So this is the product dimension table. I'm going to hit the next button. Okay. And then I'm going to hit finish. That's all. So this weekend, right, you could try all the things. Anyhow, tomorrow night also we are going to have the session. Don't worry. And here you need to refresh it. And if you expand the tables, you can see the new table. The product table got loaded here. Look at the dim product dollar. We don't want the dollar. And I'm going to rename the table. I'm going to say, remove that one, dim product. Got it? Okay. So I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to select this one. You can see that in the product dimension table, what are the columns, so you can see it here. Okay, fine. So next I go to the Power BI desktop. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the SQL Server, and I don't know if no, it is not there. Okay, here I need to go and select the server name here, because I don't remember this, or it is time taking typing it. Okay, what I do is I just select the margin. This time I'm going to import which table? The newly created table called product. But this time I'm going to use a direct query connectivity mode for the product dimension table. This is import mode. This is direct connectivity mode. I'm going to load another table called dim product using the direct query connectivity mode. Let us see what happens. But because in the real-time scenario, you'll be working with both XLS, Excel files, as well as the combination of the SQL Server tables and all. Okay, the product dimension got loaded here. We can see that here, the dim product, but here, yeah, it is there somewhere here. And here what I do is product ID and product. These two are common between these two. What I do is I just select this. Now, how do I create the relationship? Okay, you need to select this. What is the common column between these two tables? How do I create the relationship? The column from both the tables, right? You need to find something common. The product ID is common. We don't see product name here. We don't see cost price here. We don't see cat ID, but product ID is here and product ID. Only this column is available here. Hence, product ID is available in these two tables. Hence, it is a common column. You need to select this column and drag and drop it on top of this column. And you can see that, right? So the dim product is the table name. This is the table name, and then sales fact is the table name, and product ID and product it got selected automatically. I did not do anything, right? So look here, if I click on this, it will get, but it got selected here. And then, but it is not, create the relationship directly. I click on OK here. Now it created a relationship between these two. A single product would have been purchased by more than one time, one to many. Got it? Okay. You might be wondering this one, what is this curly kind, the open brace and close, sorry, open, this one, right? Bracket and closed, thing. Parenthesis. This is called parenthesis. Open parenthesis, closed parenthesis. We can see it here. But here I don't see any open parenthesis, closed. Here also one to many relationship. Here also one to many. This is the parenthesis because this is an imported table, right? This data is not available in SQL Server because currently this data is available locally. Okay, that's the reason you can see this notation, okay? But in this case, both the tables data are available in the SQL Server itself, hence it shows something like this. So with indirect connectivity mode, you can create the relationship. You can modify the relationship also. Or if you want to remove it, you can remove it. I'm going to save this one. All right, so next one is the very interesting one. So I'm going to use the SQL Server connectivity mode again, because you should be very good with SQL Server. Once you learn SQL Server, learning other RDBMS like Oracle and any other database is pretty simple. More or less same, okay? And I'm going to hit the get data button here, icon. And then here what I do is once again, I connect to the SQL Server. This time, I'm going to use a different option here. Here, I'm going to use the marketing database only. Here, I'm not going to hit the OK button instantly. Instead, what I do is I'm going to click on the advanced options because we did not discuss this so far. Here, what I do is I just go here and then see my requirement is something like in the product. Okay, in my, yeah, this is the thing, right? Okay, direct query here. So yeah, in the case of product dimension, I have the product name is available in this table. In this table, I have the product name column is available and I have product ID column is, rest of the column is okay. Product ID and product name is available. Whereas if I select my sales fact table, here I have the product ID is available in the product dimension table, but I don't have the product name available in this transaction file in the, sorry, in the sales fact table. Okay, I'm talking about sales fact. In the sales fact, I have the product ID column is available, but product name column is not available. But my manager wants to see, how much quantity we sold in each product in total. He wants to see that. For example, P001 is a product, but in the sales fact table, we have the product ID, we don't have the product name. If I display the report which shows product ID and the quantity, he will not be able to understand. It is not helpful for him. So you will ask, what is P02, what is P05? Assume that we are selling thousands of products. If you say P008 or P00100, what is the product name, right? So we need the product name column should be brought in from your product table because the product name is available here only. You need to bring it here. In order to bring the product name column from this table to here, you need to join these two tables using a common column. What is the common column? Product ID. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write an SQL query here itself. If you are having non-IT background, you might be finding it a little bit confusing. Don't worry. If I go here to this tab, product space name, okay, and I just come back to this tab, product underscore name. Why we need to use square bracket here? Because it's a single column, but in this column name, what they did, right? They use the space here. Hence, you need to use a square bracket. And next one is the quantity. Quantity, correct, right? No, it is available here. Quantity, right? So quantity from which table? From my sales fact table. Here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use something like the group by the product name. Here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use something sum. He doesn't want to see each product should be displayed more than one time. Okay. So here I just use the sum. Here I'm going to use sum of, sorry, here I'm going to use a capital letter for you to understand. So here, if I execute this one, will it work? It throws an error. Okay, product name, invalid column name, product name. I just go here and see product space name. It is available correctly. And I just select this one. Probably I copy it and then I will put it here. Okay, I'll just replace that with this one with that one. It still remains same only. There is no point in replacing it. The only thing is you need to say the database name. Select, use marketing. Marketing is my database. And then here what I do is I just say go. Okay, here I made a mistake. Okay, here you need to specify dim product, right? Dim product where, let's say I'm going to use some kind of alias here as P stands for product, as yes, sales fact, where P dot product ID is equal to S dot product ID. Still, it is throwing an error. Don't worry. Product ID, it's a small letter. And here also the product ID is small letter. It is case sensitive. So what I do is I just say product ID is equivalent to the product ID. And if I select all these things and when I press F5, operand data type n varchar is invalid for some operator. Quantity, okay, something wrong with the quantity column. Let me just see here and the quantity, right? So quantity, okay, let me just go and select the sales fact table here, the columns or the quantity is n varchar. Man, this is the problem. So what I do is instead, for the sake of I'm going to use the sales amount instead of quantity. I'm going to use sales amount. I'll tell you what is the problem later. Don't worry. Instead of quantity, I'm going to use the sales amount. Look here, it is doing perfect job. In each product, how much sales we made in total. But if you see the data set, the cashew net will appear more than one time. Listen, for example, cashew nut, in the very first day we sold 232. The second day we sold 100. And third day we sold, 1,000, 15,000. Add all the sales amount for the cashew nut. Okay, give me the total sales amount, right? We made it for each product. This is what this query is doing it. Here, since I have used the sum, it is not giving any column name. So what you do is here, you specify the total sales, something like that. Select all these things. You can use the F5 key, F5 in your keyboard, or else you can click on the execute to go. Okay, if you don't have patience, right, press F5, it will get executed. So now what I do is I check this query is working perfectly. What I do is I'm going to select the query here. Instead of loading the table, what I do is see if you load the table, let's assume that in dim product you have 100 columns are there. In sales fact table, you have 100 columns are there. But I don't want to load all the columns. Okay. I need only the product name and sales amount. And I want to do some kind of aggregation. What is aggregation? Sum. Each product, how much sales, we made. Total sales we made, right? So you give me the breakdown. So group by product name. So here you need to use the join condition, okay? Otherwise it will not work. Anyhow, this one and all will explain you later. Look here I'm not loading any table. I'm just loading the query, which means I'm going to firing a query. This query will be sent to my SQL server from via my Power BI desktop. I just hit the OK button. Let's see if this works well. If this works well, it should show the data preview window, which is nothing but the output of the query. What happens is this query is sent to my SQL server. Okay, and here, okay, I just, you could not authenticate the credit. Please try again. Okay, something wrong here. Let me do one thing. I just try it one more time. Not this one. Let me do one thing. Or let me use import for the time being. Here, I just connect database engine, copy this, and then you paste it here. And then here, you just specify your database name, marketing. That's all, right? So everything is correct because we copy paste it should not give any issues with the use your Windows screen to access this database. Okay, and connect. Okay, unencrypted. Okay, it got connected. Take a look here, the output of the query got. So whatever the query output we could see here, cache on a 237, everything, we are able. Instead of executing query in my SSMS, I have executed the query from my SQL Power BI desktop. And then I'm going to hit the load button. This is another way of connecting to SQL Server using your Power BI desktop. From your Power BI desktop, you can fire a query against your SQL Server. Look here, this is what my query wants. So if you expand, look here, all I need is only these two columns, but these two columns have the aggregated value code. You can go to the data view, and here you can see that because I've used the import mode, right? We can try the same thing with the direct query mode also. So what was the error I was getting it? What error why I was getting error? Look here, the same thing. I just go and select this one. Here I just select the direct query mode and then I put it here. Sorry, not this one and this one. And marketing. Even in the direct query also, it is possible. You can execute. I think some typo. I did not specify the server name correctly also. The query 2 is for this second time. I have used the same query. This time I have used the direct connector. Look here, the metadata is coming. Can I see the data here for query 2? You cannot see it here. Ideally, this is the best way, query 2. Okay, query 2. You do the aggregation at the source system and then get the data output here. Okay, don't import the data here. Because every day the data are getting loaded in a sales fact table. In the case of import, what happens is, let's say today you have loaded the data using import connectivity mode. You will not get, let's say tomorrow, same time, when you look at this query, it will show the same output. Whatever the data which got loaded in my source system sales fact table, today or tomorrow, right, that will not get reflected here because the data got loaded today into my Power BI desktop itself. Whereas in the case of direct query, what happens is every day, right? So whenever you use the visual, it will go and hit this table. Okay. So tomorrow night, when you hit this table directly with this option, obviously as of yesterday, tomorrow night, whatever the data by this time you have inserted, that one will be available there. Got it? Fine. The next one option. Okay, with that, I'm going to wrap up and I'm going to select the SQL Server now. Yes, Rashid Iqbal has a very good question. Why we are importing Excel data to SQL Server and then connect? Why are we not connected? Excel file, it was not Excel. Yeah, Excel file I used, correct, right? The Excel file, sometimes it is a organization standard. They don't want to maintain the data in Excel file. Because if you have the data in Excel file, you cannot perform joins like this, right? Look here I joined, these two tables using this one. You cannot perform SQL like join. Joining is pretty simple. In your Excel, you have, in the first Excel file, you have the product dimension. In the second Excel file, you have the sales fact table. Likewise, if you have 100 tables, 100 Excel file, let's say you want to combine it, or 15 Excel files, other product name. Along with that, I want to know the customer name. Customer name is available in another dim customer table. In that case, joining is a bit difficult if you use the Excel file. What the organization, they decided, they don't want to use the Excel data as it is. Instead, they want to load all the Excel file into the organization policy, into your database. The reason why they want you to load all the Excel file into SQL Server was performing the join, right, between the tables or amongst the tables are pretty simple, because you have the options are available, right? Inner join, you can do it here. This is called inner join, okay? And you can do some group by combining more than one table. Hope you understood, right? So that is the reason why it's an organization policy. Why organization, they came out this decision? They want to load the data into your SQL Server, and then you want to do this one, right? See, there are scenarios. What will happen is they want you to load the data from Excel into a table. So there are scenarios. What will happen is your front end application. Let's say you are selling products via your e-commerce application or in the browser. Let's say Amazon.com, right? So they go there and they will order the product. Whatever the orders they raise it in the website, in the portal, that will get inserted automatically in these tables. Okay. Actually, the dim customer, usually the fact table and customer dimension, we don't do it. There are some other table if you get that table name also, like customer table, product table, and transaction table, sales transaction table. From the sales transaction table and customer table and product table, what we do is they give the data in the form of a CSV file, comma separated or Excel file. That data we need. This is for, see, this database is for analytics. See, first you understand, these two things. Since you've asked this question, right? I need to explain this, and only then you'll be able to understand. See, it's something like you have something called OLTP and you have something called data warehouse. And you have some reporting tool like Power BI. So using which you do data cleaning, and then you do ETL, which is nothing but data pre-processing, and then you can create the reports. But in order to create the reports, you need to have the data. But what is the source for the data? The data will be available in data warehouse. So why we have two different databases? OLTP, this is called online transaction tool. This is called data warehousing. Okay, the OLTP is the one accessed by your Amazon. Okay, Amazon, people are ordering the products via this one. All the data, all the orders generated, the customer data, everything get inserted in this database. So every 1 hour, according to Walmart, right? Every 1 hour, 1 million transactions are happening against this database. This is your source system database. Okay, all the data are getting loaded into this database, in this source database from your website. If you are ordering a product, the data gets stored in a table in your OLTP database. Okay, so what we are doing, the same data we are moving into data warehouse. Hey, why do I need to duplicate this one? Because here we keep the historical data. Here we don't keep the historical. Maximum, right? You will keep 1 year data. That's all. Why only 1 year data here? Why historical data here? If you have the historical data, you can compare the current quarter with the past quarter. You can compare the current month sales with previous month sales. Here also you can keep the historical data, but already 1 million users are accessing per hour across the globe to raising the order and all. And if you keep the historical data, what will happen? You have 100 million records, historical data, right? It'll be literally slow. That is the reason why they don't keep the historical data here. Okay, maximum, right, 1 year or 8 months data, they will keep it here. But whatever the transactions happening, right, the current year, last year, and prior to last year, all the, let's say probably, right, they keep 5 years data. But the current 1 year only it will have the data in here. The previous 4 years data, it will be available. As and when the users raise an order, everything, right, it will be captured here. And on a daily basis, right, they schedule the data refresh. They will load the data, daily data, they load it into your in the fact table, especially in the fact table. Hope you understood, right? So see, in this case, what happened? They, the daily data you need to load it, right? Whatever the new. So what they did, don't keep the historical data here, and we keep the historical data. This is for analytics purpose. This is for e-commerce purpose. E-commerce have less data here. We don't store historical data because it will literally slow down. When you order any product, what will happen is, for example, if you want to check out only one product, if it takes 5 hours, what you will do? You will lose patience, right? You will go and buy it from their competitors. So it should be pretty fast. Which one? The e-commerce application. So, right. So for that, they did the data model design in line with the OLTP requirement. Okay. They keep the data volume less here, hence they, it will be pretty faster. Okay, it's something like, right, if I give you 1 kg bag full of rice, you can lift it. If I give 100 kgs, can you lift it? It requires a lot of effort, right? Same thing here. They keep less volume of data here, whereas here they keep the historical data. Why that is for analytics. So what they did, okay, e-commerce application data is stored here, and analytics is stored here, because analytics requires a lot of data, historical data. And then what is we use Power BI. So what we are doing, but in the real-time scenario, what will happen is we extract using the Power BI also, we'll extract the data and then we'll load it here. So in between also the Power BI will come into picture. Anyhow, we'll discuss this later point in the data warehouse. Okay, you have a good question. In my we are using SAP system and we are downloading data from SAP data warehouse. Currently, I'm downloading data in Excel format or scheduling from system and getting in Excel format. How can you use SQL to update these data and connect it to Power BI? I don't have IT background. Maybe my question don't make sense to you. This is really a very good question. You can throw any questions. Okay, not a problem. We are using SAP and we are downloading data from SAP data warehouse. Okay. Excel format or scheduling it from our system and getting in Excel format. Okay, what you do is you can load the data in your SQL Server, right? Instead of, so first of all, why you need to download the data in Excel and download the data in Excel? Because you want to do analytics, right? Okay, you want to do analytics. So, okay, you will not have direct access. You don't have access directly to this one, data warehouse. If you have direct access, you can see nowadays everyone they give read-only access. You can directly, take the data from here and then you do it. But even then, if you have direct connection to your data warehouse, even if you have direct connection to data warehouse, you may have to do some kind of data transformation. For example, it's all raw data, right? According to you, and net revenue, net margin, these kind of columns you need to create it. So that is the one you need to do it again, right? But I guess in the data warehouse itself, they keep all these relevant columns. Only thing is you need to select it. Okay, you are requiring how can I use SQL Server to update these data and connect it to Power BI? Okay, see this is what the best practice, right? The data warehouse, where's the SAP data warehouse or enterprise data warehouse? For this, the data comes from OLTP. You will be using something called staging area. Okay, probably in your SQL Server, you can ask them to create a staging area. Okay, staging area. In the staging area, what we do is whatever the data, daily data comes here, you just clean it, and then you join with more than one table and load it into data warehouse. Okay. But in your case, why you need to download it? It's in pipeline to build direct connectivity so we can connect Power BI to get real-time analytics. Oh, it is in pipeline to build direct connectivity so we can connect Power BI to get real-time analytics. Okay. Yeah, that is what I'm saying, right? So instead of downloading the Excel file, what you do is, you can use the direct connectivity mode using your Power BI. You can do it that way also. Okay. Yeah, so you asked the question, you gave the answer on your own. That is the other way of doing it. Okay. So in that case, you don't have to download it here, right? So you don't have to download it as an Excel file, Excel format. You can use a direct memory. Okay. That is what you need to do it. Okay. But in the data warehouses, I'm talking about the SAP data warehouse. In SAP data warehouse, what is the source for your SAP data warehouse? Your SAP application, right? That is the one. I think they are using the SAP application. That's kind of a OLTP. They load the data and then data. But my question is, between these two, how do you do the data transformation? You must be having some kind of staging area. Okay. But your question is okay, data warehouse to Power BI, right? So yeah, you can use direct. That's the correct thing. Yes. Since I got confused, why you need to extract in Excel and then need to do it, right? Excel, you don't have to use it. Yeah. So what I was talking here, the import connectivity mode is OLTP to staging area. OLTP to staging area. Okay. Or for example, yeah, so not from OLTP, sorry, data warehouse to Power BI. Data warehouse to Power BI, what I do is I import the data. Yeah, I got it. So what you are saying is, okay, your question, you might got stuck up here. Your question was something like this. See here, why from the data warehouse, I need to load this data locally into my Power BI desktop. So in this case, it is fine. For example, you have a table called location dimension. It will not undergo frequent changes. Rarely, every once in 6 months, you will load. So in that case, if you load that data locally into your Power BI desktop, it's hardly you do business with 100 locations, 1,000 locations. 1,000 is not a big data. If you load it here, location dimension, it'll these kind of tables, right? It will not undergo frequency changes. Those kind of tables we can load it here. Why should I load it in CSV file, and why should I store it in CSV file or Excel file, and then again why should I load it? It's already available in data warehouse. The reason is the location table will not undergo frequent changes. Once in 6 months, rarely it will undergo changes. If you are very sure, in that case, you can go for import connectivity mode. Why import connectivity mode? The performance is very, very fast when you use import connectivity. That one I will discuss in the next session. That next session will enlighten you. Okay, why import connectivity? Yeah, I got it. So your question is this one, right? So this one I will explain it tomorrow. Why do I need to use the import connectivity? Why, no, I'm going to use the direct connectivity mode. So what is wrong here? That's one, hence I will get the real time data, right? But there are some scenario you don't need the, you have some kind of static table. It will not undergo frequency. That kind of situation, go for import. We'll discuss in detail about what is import, direct query mode, and we have something called dual mode. Okay. So what is the difference between all these three? When I explain this, you can determine at the time of creating the report which mode of connectivity is best suits for you, because the mode of connectivity also matters a lot in when it comes to performance, report performance. Got it? Okay. Any other questions? So with this, I'm going to wrap up. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Since you don't have any questions, I'm going to wrap up the session. We'll share the videos, everything by tomorrow noon. Okay. And you welcome, Rashid. So what I'll do is in the meanwhile, I'll share the login credentials to you, access our website. Just give me a second. I'll explain you how you need to connect to my website. I'll just go here. I just open the Chrome browser here. I just go here, and here what it is, training in Chennai.info. This is our website, and you just click on the login, and you can use your username and password, which I'm going to share it. Okay, and probably you can make it remember me. Hit the login. It will connect to my website, and you just logged in here. And if you scroll down here, you will find something called the previous batch. This is your current batch. This is your previous batch. Current batch, we are going to add it. Don't worry. But at this moment, I would suggest you to click on the previous full stack Power BI Institute course. Click on the previous batch. It will take you to the course page. Here you will find the introduction, download resources. When you hit this download resources, you will find all the data files. And I would suggest the last button, they'll download. When you click on this, all the data sets that belong to this training program is available here. And then there are some other data set, right, that we will be loading it later. Okay, at this point, this is more than sufficient. And then if you scroll down here, you can see the previous batch recorded videos. You can see it here. Okay, all the previous batch recorded videos, but importantly, the data is available here. Okay, and the next question is, what about today's session and the last session videos? That we will be uploading it, and we'll share that link tomorrow by 11, because our guys are not available tomorrow by our time. By noon it will be made available. Okay, any of everything whatever we discussed, right, it all recorded. You can watch this video also. Once you watch this video, you will get to know the navigation of our website, and you will get to know everything. Okay, any other questions? Okay, since you don't have any questions, I'm going to